Hi everyone, today I am going to summarize a movie the film starts with. It's been 3 years since aliens showed up on Earth without being seen. The world is getting safer, its defenses with the US, Russia, and China taking the lead. There is a new satellite being sent up in the circle around Earth to keep an eye on space so that no strange objects can get too close. Not noticed again. When the satellite opens, a strange alien ship with a tentacle-like structure can be seen, different parts. All of a sudden, a shuttle takes off from it, heads for Earth, and enters the atmosphere. Until then, a fishing boat with people working and talking on it can be seen somewhere in the ocean. One of them looks out over the water and sees the spaceship fall. He doesn't say what he saw with the other people. The shuttle can then be seen moving like a submarine under the water. Yulia is seen running with her dog 4 months later. As they walk into an apartment building, the dog gets away and doesn't come back when she calls it. She tells the men who are with ask her to help you find him. After that, her friend asks her about some things while they're in robots class. Something new from the lab. She tells him that her guards will kill her if she tells anyone anything. I have to shoot him right now. Yulia's friend tries to tell her he loves her after class. He tries to leave, but she stops him and tells him that he'll be safer if they stay friends. They are led to her dad's car by her guards. General Lebedev, her father, talks to Yulia's friend, using the word Google. They drop the kid off at Rostelecom, and he brags that he works there. He goes into the building, and when security checks his ID, it says that he's just an intern. However, Yulia and her dad are still driving, and he makes fun of her by saying that he wants to break her out, getting her into another country without being seen, so she could hide. She doesn't want him to be thrown out. When they get to a Russian Ministry of Defense study lab, a robot is already there, is seen breaking a car's doors and windows. Someone from the lab talks to Yulia's dad, getting to know it. It's some kind of bioengineering, the scientist says. There is a person controlling the robot and talking to them over comm. The general says that it's a co-production between Russia and aliens. After that, the chemist says Yulia is the key to getting a handle on how everything works. At the same time, Yulia is taking part somewhere in the building to do an experiment. She's questioned by the main doctor about her meeting with the alien spaceship and watches how she responds, not just what she says. He asks her about her friend. Her heart rate goes up when he asks her why she helped the person who died in the fight. Not human. When they ask her about Artyom, her boyfriend, she gets mad and doesn't want to talk. All at once, the man is taken to the lab. When he starts talking to her, she gets very angry, getting the scientist to stop the test and let her go. He says sorry for killing her while she tries to get away from her chains. The scientist keeps telling him to keep talking. And all of a sudden, there's a huge power spike. Her dad goes into the lab and gets her out. While Artyom is being led away, she asks why he's locked up when she's free. After that, Yulia and her dad talk, and she begs him to give her a moment of peace and quiet. Her guards or anyone else who's near her. He says yes, leaves, and then meets Ivan, a fighter. Tells him he has to work the night shift and change into normal clothes. That evening, Yulia is having a drink at a bar. You can tell she's on to Ivan because she buys him a drink. He then goes to the bar with her. Before they leave, she offers him a drink, but then a second guy walks up and says they need to leave. The man calls himself Hakon and tells Yulia she needs to go with him, even though she doesn't want to. When Ivan and Hakon start to fight, Yulia hits the soldier over the head, which knocked him out. She and Hakon leave the bar and call Sol to the alien ship. It follows, finds out where they are, and gets them a ride, taking them to a car with 2 other people. That takes over the digitalized car and starts to drive it. Ivan keeps up with them after Sol talks to them on the phone. Ivan is pushed away by the car, which slows down so as not to hurt anyone on the road. Ivan finally gets to them on a moped and calls General Lebedev to tell him about the in this case. The general tells him to follow them, but he starts to clear out the lab of the Ministry of Defense, saying that the aliens were back on Earth. Hakan tells Yulia that she's in danger because they went too far with the experiments, so they need to leave right away. It's going too fast and almost hits a person on the sidewalk, but stops right in front of him and tells the other people to get off. While Hakan and Yulia stay in the car, Ivan follows them and shoots one of the wheels. He makes a car crash happen, but Sol sees him coming and saves him. Ivan tells the general that he lost them over the phone. Sol takes Hakan and Yulia to a place that is far away in the woods. She reluctantly walks in, but her dog jumps out and greets her. That's it. Hakan hears Yulia say that she thought he was dead. He seems to be the alien she helped in the previous meeting. He says that everything went wrong the last time. They go into the house and talk about his life on Earth. He tells her that he has learned to live with it, in the world. Yulia opens the door to find Google there. She's mad, even though he had tried to tell her that before. It was Hakan's job to tell her that. He was supposed to leave after the first meeting, but he broke the rules and stayed on Sol, very close to Earth. At the same time that Sol changes shape, they kiss and make love. It changes into Ra. The Yulia calls her dad in the morning to let him know she's with Hakan. He hears her say that she has to leave Earth because she doesn't fit there anymore, and she asks him not to tell anyone. Still, the general tells his soldiers to follow her signal. Yulia goes back inside, where Hakan has food ready for her. At the same time, a combat unit has circled the eyes getting ready to storm the house where Hakan and Yulia are hiding. Let General Lebedev tell you they were told to stop, but Ra picked up the phone and changed the general's order to shoot to kill. When the unit comes into the house, Hakan fights off a few of the soldiers. After that, they get away. His ship is ready to go and is waiting for them in the river. If Hakan jumps in, the unit will follow them and shoot Yulia as she gets into the ship. Hakan takes off. All of a sudden, they are told to fire a rocket at them, but Hakan stops the rocket in the air. The ship is still broken, though, and it falls into the river from the sky. Hakan tries to get to Sol, but Ra tells him that Yulia has to be killed first. It can fix his ship. When he says no, Ra tells him that he too needs to be killed. The general and Ivan try to catch up to them, but they have trouble communicating in different ways. That Ra has picked off. They learn that space defense is after the ship with the general. I'm not sure who gave that order. It looks like helicopters are rushing toward the river and then moving to going into battle mode and shooting at the ship. Artyom tricks his guard back at the building and is able to take the robot, hide in it, and then drive off in it. When he gets to the river bridge, he hears that there is a group following the ship and ready to shoot it down. The ship moves smoothly on the water, but is hit by 2 helicopters and killed. It takes off from the water and falls through the air. With water coming after it, it ends up crashing to the ground. The helicopters are ready to go. After getting the order to kill from Ra, Artyom jumped at one of them and cut it off. Tears it apart. On the ground, the general gets to the ship and goes to check for Yulia, but her and Hakan have already escaped. He carries her to an ambulance when they find Artyom, who sees that she's hurt and tells them he'll get a doctor for her. But Hakan tells him that all she needs is water. Artyom flags down a car and they steal it, leaving its owner behind this time. While they're driving, Hakan explains how powerful Sol is and how it can control human technology. Artyom asks what it wants, and he tells him that it only wants to eliminate Yulia. In the meantime, Yulia's father goes to the Ministry of Defense, where a special meeting has been summoned. He storms the meeting asking why such orders were placed when they were chasing the ship. The vice premier tells him that he is out of line and gets ordered to sit down. Then he asks the Space Defense to explain their actions. They say the orders came from the general. A recording is played where the general's voice can be heard giving the order. The vice premier orders the news to be played in the meeting, where the devastation in Moscow from the chase is apparent. The media is blaming Yulia for what happened and play a deep fake video of her, making her sound like a terrorist that's on the side of the aliens, threatening the city. They reveal that not only the video, but the entire news program is fake, being broadcast from someplace else and not a TV station. The general tells them that the aliens are the ones doing it. He asks for retaliation, to which the vice premier says he needs evidence so he can confirm such action. General Lebedev asks for special protocols to be put in place in the meantime, saying that only analog technology should be used for all of their communication. The vice premier agrees and preparations begin for the switch. Simultaneously, Hakan, Yulia, and Artyom get to a store to get water for her. Hakan goes inside to buy it. When he finds the right kind of water and goes to the register, the phones of all the people start ringing. Everyone in the store is talking about Yulia and a possible terror attack. All of the people start getting the same message about her, that they need to find her and eliminate her. As Hakan returns to the car, a woman in the adjacent car recognizes Yulia and informs a police patrol that's in her vicinity about her. Artyom drives away as the police start chasing them. Ivan gets the same message while escorting the ship back to the Ministry of Defense. The fake message tells him the attack caused by Yulia has injured his son. All digital media gets swamped by Raw with the same information about Yulia, making her public enemy number one. Google gets a visit from a police officer asking about Yulia. His grandmother sends the officer away, and when they close the door, asks where he hid his friends. They were in the closet. The next moment, Artyom and Hakan submerge Yulia in water. Hakan tells him that she's no longer human. He says pain is changing her, making her extremely, if not dangerously, powerful. Ra has calculated that her death might save everyone else from her power, and that's why it wants to destroy her. Later, Google and Artyom get Hakan drunk intentionally and decide to take him to the Ministry of Defense. Artyom gives Google no choice on the matter. Once they arrive, they're greeted by Yulia's father ready to kill them. Google breaks and tells him where his daughter is. He confronts Hakan and asks him to tell him the coordinates of Ra, which is known solely to him, and tells him that he has to decide between her and his people. Ivan tries to get in touch with his wife, but he can't. He sees the news about Yulia as the general walks in telling his men to prepare an observatory and the satellite with the coordinates he got from Hakan. The general tells Ivan to get Yulia, but bring her to him directly without informing anyone else. The observatory locates Ra, so the general contacts the vice premier about the next step. They decide to engage with it violently, but need to destroy a satellite so that it doesn't catch up to what they're doing and create different problems. The military sends Google to Rostelecom to take down their satellite. Once the satellite is down, they will only have a few seconds before it reboots. They will destroy Ra with a super-secret weapon that the vice premier pretends they don't even have, even though they do. The general convinces him that they have no other choice. Meanwhile, Yulia wakes up in the tub. Her wounds are gone. She gets ready to leave Google's grandmother's apartment when Ivan shows up at the door. He's driving her someplace, but she doesn't know that he thinks she's to blame for the attacks. He confronts her with the information, threatening her that if his son dies, so will she. The general gives the order to launch the special missile and destroy the satellite as well. They wait for the missile to destroy Ra and rejoice when it's done. But the general isn't convinced. He wants a full report and a visual confirmation to make sure the alien spaceship is destroyed. In the meantime, people gather on the streets and demand for Yulia's prosecution. Ivan is driving her through the crowd. He still doesn't believe her, but he eventually takes her to the ministry to her father and the others. Ivan is disappointed with the general and quits on the spot. Hakan uses a phone to communicate with Ra. It tells him that it is ready for retribution, since it doesn't believe humans are worthy of anything. Ra tells Hakan that he can fly back, but he declines, still believing in mankind. The powerful spaceship starts a process of destruction on the planet seen from everywhere, including the tower of the Ministry of Defense. Ra is angry at the humans for trying to use its technology to create weapons like Yulia. It creates a massive water dome around the area of Moscow where she is and starts flooding the inside of the walls. The military tries everything. but they can't destroy the dome. They start evacuating people, only to tell them that their only hope is to go as high up as they can and remain on the roofs of the buildings. The general tells Hakan to grab Yulia and get her to the chopper on the roof. So he gets her and Artyom there and inside of the helicopter, but remains in the dome. Hakan comes back to the general and asks for his shuttle, telling him that he can try and destroy Ra if he can hit it with the shuttle. The general, realizing it's a one-way ticket, wants to go instead, but that's not possible since only Hakan can operate it manually. The general evacuates his men, but remains behind to help Hakan navigate toward Ra. The helicopter with Yulia and Artyom loses altitude and has to land, but it starts falling, and the two of them jump out in the water. They are pulled on one of the roofs with the other people in the disaster area. The water keeps getting higher, and Yulia can't accept that all the people can get hurt because of her, so she surrenders. She asks Artyom to kill her, and the others around them hear her. Meanwhile, the general manages to get Hakan as close to Ra as he possibly can, until the water comes inside the building and floods it. Back at the roof, Yulia is begging to die, wanting to end all the suffering she's caused. Ivan is there and he sees her, going after her with a gun. Artyom tries to protect her, but gets shot instead. The water starts closing in on them, but Ivan has lost his nerve. The water overtakes them. Hakan is getting closer and closer to Ra, eventually speeding the ship towards it. Under the water, Yulia's bracelet activates and sends streams of water toward Ra, as Hakan gets closer to it too. Yulia pulls Ra out of the water, and military helicopters start shooting at it as they see it. Yulia keeps pushing the ship out, and the military drops a missile on it, destroying it. Suddenly, the water starts receding, and people start coming up for air. The general is still alive as well. Hakan's ship gets pushed back in the remaining water as Ra is dying. He appears on the roof next to Yulia. The alien threat has been destroyed, and the day saved yet again. In the final moments, the general attends a fake funeral for his daughter, and later, a helicopter flies over Kamchatka. One person leaves the plane and walks off with the dog. It's the general tracking a specific location, and when he gets there, he finds Yulia and Hakan. They embrace and wonder where to go next. Yulia touches the water, and a spaceship appears from below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on the notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.